Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Rise podcast with me, your host, Katie Oman, women's empowerment coach, author, book coach, motivational speaker, and event organizer. Lots of strings to my bow. I created this podcast because I really believe in the power and the magic of women. It's my absolute passion, purpose, bread and butter. And I wanted to give a space for women to tell their stories and to give us all a boost of inspiration. And today I have another incredible woman here joining me on this podcast. I'm so happy that she said yes. Her name is Nicola Chan, and she's wonderful. I know it's going to be another great chat. So let's get into it, shall we? Nicola, thank you so much for being here with me today, darling. It's an absolute pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you so much for having me. I resonate with everything that you said. I'm all about the women as well and us doing stuff together and empowering each other.
Absolutely. Well, I picked the right women, I think. It would be weird if I had someone on that'd be like, sounds a bit silly. Do you know what I mean? So you got to vibe your tribe, right? That's what I always say.
Exactly.
So we definitely, exactly. So for those of internet land who do not know anything about you, I'll give you this space. Tell us all about you, what you do, and what makes you tick.
So my name's Nicola Chan. I'm a body confidence coach, a speaker, and an author. And most people know me through my time in the fitness industry. So I am still in the fitness industry, but I kind of fell out of love with it. I started in the fitness industry 16 years ago, and it was through that time that I felt a lot of pressure around the way that I looked and body image, the way that I ate, and just I was told in college that you are your brand when you're a fitness professional. So you need to look a certain way. You need to always be the leader, be the person at the front, get everything right, be perfect, and all of those things. And because I was fresh and new and I really loved the industry, I really wanted to be a part of it and, do the best that I could. I wanted to live up to all those expectations. And sadly for me, I ended up having an eating disorder, severe body image issues. I would say I had body dysmorphia, even though I wasn't diagnosed with that. And just, I never really felt enough. So although I would go and teach at what I would call an amazing class, I would get great feedback. I would then think I've now set the bar and I need to constantly get to the same bar or more. So I was just, pushing myself to be better all the time. And the next thing was bodybuilding. So it kind of was, I don't know if people outside of the industry had noticed there was an era of bodybuilders or if it was always there. And just because I was in the industry, I came across it at that time. And people had warned me not to do bodybuilding if you've had any issues with food. But I actually thought this was going to fix me. I thought once I've achieved that perfect body, because we all see that image on, health and fitness magazines, it looks perfect. You think, well, you're healthy, you're fitness, that's the magazine, those are the words. Therefore, if I achieve that, I'll then be happy. So long story short, I achieved that, became bikini winner, like I won my first show, did a number of other shows, and then realized that the perfection line moved and I still wasn't enough. So that's when I realized it was an inside job. And because I'd spent 90% of my brain on hating myself and everything that I did was motivated by that, I then realized how powerful my brain was and thought, what happens if I switch it the other way? What is the opposite of body negative? It's body positive. What if I look into like Googling what is body positive? I found the whole body positive community, fat acceptance world, fat activists. I learned so many things. And that led me to what I'm doing now. So the mindset being a massive part of it, because obviously that switch in my mindset, it started with an overnight decision. And then it took a couple of years of, changing my habits, researching, and also changing my business. So I kind of did that out loud. So now I call myself a body confidence coach. And the speaking that I do is sharing my story, because I feel like this is why I was going to leave the fitness industry, actually, because of the hate that I had for it, if you like, at the time. Because I feel that some of it is really unethical and a lot of things are just there to sell products, and they're, it's dealing with people's lives, like their mental health and their physical health. And for me, when I was infertile for a long time, there's all of that as well. So I like to tell my story and give people another way that they can be in the industry. They can stay, they can get fit and healthy, but find balance and, mind and body and spirituality and everything else.
Yeah, I love it. And it's like straight away, my brain is like firing with 100 questions, because show me a woman that doesn't have some issue with her body and her body image. And certainly for me on my journey, I mean, I've been what would be classed, I suppose, as morbidly obese. Last year, I lost 4.5 stone, which I'm very proud of. But that's my thing has been yo-yo dieting, and trying to find a space where I'm happy and healthy, which I think I'm achieving now. But once you have those moments, it's like it's always like it's a weakness in you, I suppose. That it's there in you, and it's like it's never really goes away. So talking about this stuff, I think, is so incredibly important, and especially for women, because society is so messed up when it comes to what women should look like. It's insane. And the
Mm.
messages that we receive, like I've got a 11-year-old daughter, and I see the messages being passed on to her. And it's like, I start so young. And I think the work you're doing is so incredibly important and so needed at this time. Probably, I mean, certainly ever since, I mean, I'm 42 on Sunday. And certainly,
Happy birthday.
thank you very much. But certainly, my whole lifetime has been what's trending in the body image, what's fashionable. And it's always been something that's there in the background constantly. It's so exhausting to think about. There's no
Mm.
question there, but I'm just basically saying that I'm really happy with what you're doing. And I think that it's very, very needed. I mean, how do you work then? Because is it through like workshops and online coaching? Is it that kind of thing that you're doing?
Well, I still have my day-to-day fitness job, so I'm still teaching regular classes that seem normal in the fitness industry, but I never speak to people about calories. And in
Yeah.
fact, if I get the opportunity to, I will tell them that it's not about counting calories, because we've all got the little screens like on the spin bike, and it's giving you all the stats of everything that's
Mm.
you've done during the class. And if anyone asks me about that, I always use that opportunity to tell them, it's not about counting calories. Let's have fun. Let's
Yeah.
improve your fitness levels and your mental health and all of the other things. So I'm definitely in the right industry for that. In terms of people with issues with body image and disordered eating, that would be coaching. So
Yeah.
even if they came to me through fitness and want to do some stuff physically, I would say, let's do the coaching first, because you don't
Yeah.
know what your relationship with your body is and how you're going to use that in the gym. And for
Mhm.
me, which is the point that I was almost going to leave the industry, I was basically punishing myself in the gym. So it felt like all of my workouts had a purpose to change my body or to burn off some calories. If I felt like I'd
Yeah.
overeaten, I then had to over exercise to
Mm.
compensate for it. So I got really good at that, and I then had to do more and more and more. So I ended up even running the marathon, because my running was the best thing for me at the time, that burned the most calories. 10 miles wasn't enough, then it became 12 miles and so on. And then before I knew it, I was entering the marathon.
Why do you think women I mean, I know it's kind of men are feeling that pressure now too, but women specifically have been so pressurized in society to look a certain way. And I'm interested on your take on that. I have my own take on it.
Mm.
Why do you think women are pressurized to fit in a certain body type?
Well, I'm about the same age as you. I'm 41 in November, and I feel like in our years, when I grew up, I used to go to with my mum to exercise classes. I used to
Mm.
do VHS videos at home and be in the
Yeah,
background and copy
yeah.
her. And obviously they were videos then. You had to watch all the adverts before the actual video
Mm.
came on when you were doing the exercise. And there was all of these messages. So I can see myself now, that little child just sitting there watching all of these adverts. And the women are like, let's tap under our chin so we don't get a double chin. Let's pull our waist in. And it was literally, don't get old, don't get fat. It's all of these messages that what it means to be a woman. And I'm watching my mum there, my first role model of what I should be as a woman,
Mm.
doing these videos and talking about losing weight and eating in a certain way to change her body. So mine personally started at home with my mum.
Yeah,
And then after that, it's the magazines. And I know
yeah.
that you get the health and fitness magazines for men, but we have, all the chat magazines as well. Everything is magazines for women, isn't it? And it's get your body back after you have a baby,
Yeah.
how to stay young, be youthful. And there's just so many messages that are subliminal.
Absolutely. And I used to buy a Heat magazine every week before I had my awakening. And I remember like this, they called the Hoop of Horror or the Ring of Shame, or whatever it was. And like looking at women's bodies and seeing like the cellulite or their rolls, which we all have, doesn't matter how thin you are and how small you are, you
Mm.
sit down, you have a roll. And like saying like it was like being in a woman's body was something to be ashamed of. And I think for me it's been society wants to keep women young because that's attractive, apparently. Getting older is not attractive, apparently, but also it feels like a diminishing of our power, because if we're focusing and obsessing about looking a certain way and giving all our attention to that, we're not focusing really on anything else. So we can't focus on helping society and helping change our
Yeah.
lives, and we're just focusing on staying this like small pretty little thing, and it does feel quite toxic in a lot of ways and very patriarchal.
Exactly. That's where it comes down to. I'm glad that you brought that point up, because I feel like if we're on the hamster wheel focusing on our bodies, we're not, becoming activists and speaking up. We're just, like you said, being seen and not heard.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so how do we, I mean, obviously you talk a lot about the mindset. So how, any woman watching this, and the minute I put a body image and stuff and body confidence, I'm sure like it so resonates with so many of us. So if it's a mindset thing, like how do we even start going into that space for ourselves? Apart from working with you, obviously, but apart from that, how would we even begin the process?
Well, for anything to change, you need to be aware of it to begin with. So
Yeah.
to start with, being aware of the messages that you've had, so why you don't like your body in the first place. And it may be that you say nasty things to yourself when you look in the mirror. And if you've never questioned it, it sounds like your own voice. And then when you actually take the time to listen, maybe it's your parents' voice. Maybe it's a voice you heard on TV. Maybe you were bullied at school and it's that voice. So it's not even our own. And even just a little example with NLP, which is one of the tools that I use for coaching, neuro-linguistic programming, we do something with the voice. So there'll be a voice coming from a certain place. You might find it at the back of your head, and we move the voice to the front of your head. And it might be your mum's voice, and it's, quite a feminine and a high voice, and you might make it really low. Or you might make it funny and squeaky like Mickey Mouse. So just things like that, you can play around with the voices, and sometimes that alone is enough to lessen the emotions that you have with that voice.
Yeah.
But it's just one example of being aware of something and taking steps to change it. And obviously there's loads of conditioning, and you could have had something for many, many years, and that's just one thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think what's helped me personally is to think about it in terms of my health, as opposed to the number on the scale or the number on the dress size. You know what I mean? I think if I think about how healthy I feel, that makes me feel better about it. I think you feel more in control of it, if that makes sense. It's like it really just shifting your focus and your mindset as to what you're doing and why.
Yeah, and it's really important to look at what health is, because you can't see health. So like that picture on the Health and Fitness magazine, when I achieved that look, I wasn't having my periods. I was obsessed with exercise. I was weighing and measuring every bit of food that I ate. So you could call that orthorexia. I was literally obsessed with it. My hair was thinning. I was dreaming about food. I was grinding my teeth. I was having lots of injuries because I wasn't recovering enough from all the exercise I was doing. But I really wasn't healthy. So I was fit, but I wasn't healthy. So health and fitness don't always go together.
Absolutely. I mean, look at like the superheroes like your Chris Hemsworth and stuff, who get into amazing shape to play those superheroes, but it's not sustainable. And I always look at the people who are like look like that all the time. And actually now I think, what else are you doing to look like that all the time? Like, are you taking substances and that kind of thing? Because it's so bad for your body. And like it's the epitome of what we're supposed to look like. And yet, like
Unless it's genetic, because there is genetic bodies that are bigger, that are healthier, and we assume they're not healthy. There's genetics that you're smaller, so we have to look at our genetics. We're all born different weights, sizes, shapes, colors, everything, and we expect to then grow up and all look like a celebrity.
Yeah, exactly.
Be like them, train like them, we'll look like them. And actually, we started different because we're all meant to be different.
Yeah,
and that's the beauty of the world, that all bodies are diverse.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And I think it's really important. Like, I'm not going to look like, I don't know, Kim Kardashian, not that I would want to, because my genetics are completely different to hers. And so me trying to aim for her body type is just ridiculous.
Well, that's the other thing to note, actually, because she is the current beauty standard. The standards change every 10 years. So when I got into the fitness industry, it was very lean and straight bodied. So I actually fit into that with my natural body. But then 10 years later, I'm not going to fit into that anymore. So if I'm going to keep trying to change myself, therefore I'm always putting money into the industry. So it makes sense to have beauty standards that keep changing.
Absolutely, absolutely. I remember that industry at that time well, with the first batch of supermodels, your Kate Moss and your Naomi Campbell, and yeah, it was literally like anorexic chic, to a certain point, because it was like the thinner the better. And now, of course, it's with, like you say, with Nicki Minaj and Kim Kardashian. It's all about the butt and having that really like hourglass, very curvaceous
Yeah,
figure. It's changes all the time, and trying to keep up with trends is exhausting, and it's
yeah,
potentially very harmful. I totally see that.
yeah.
Um, I do remember reading once, it really surprised me, because of course you go to any kind of doctors or hospital and they will do your BMI, which is
Hmm.
your height and then your weight and then the healthy range. And actually, someone was saying that it's not actually, doesn't work for everybody. It's not as a thing as what people think it is, because everybody's got a different body type. And so it shouldn't be as standard probably as what it's being used. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Or
Well, this is where I am going to swear because the BMI is bullshit. Basically, it's an arbitrary, made up number to put people into a category. It might work with, the generalization of the whole population, but obviously there's people outside of those ranges. So if you look at a bodybuilder, they're huge in muscle, they might not be as huge in height, and therefore they're obese.
yeah.
But it was also, for example, just to say about the pharmaceuticals and how this is all a money making scam, if you like. So we have the BMI scale. People who are in the overweight category, they decided to change the BMI scale overnight, so those people became obese so they could sell more
Mm.
drugs. So if you look at it like that, the BMI is bullshit. And, GPs have got a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience, but I think sometimes when you know too much, you don't know enough about specific things, because the more I learned, I'd still go to the GP and they'd still put me on the scales. It doesn't
Yeah,
make any sense. Why are they checking my BMI? Why do they need to know my weight? Like, what are scales made for? We originally had scales to weigh and measure goods to determine
yeah.
their worth. And now we're measuring our worth, and we're saying it's the worth of your health, but it actually isn't, because I was unhealthy when I was a lower weight.
I love that, and I couldn't agree with you more. Like, it's ridiculous, especially women's health, as we know, is not taken terribly seriously by the medical profession in general. And I know, like, there's always that joke, like, you can go into a doctor with an earache, and they'll ask you, like, to do some exercise and lose some weight. Like,
Hmm.
literally, it's is it, are you on your period, and how heavy are you? It seems to be like our
Yeah.
two things that are thrown at us, and
So
it's
on
like
that
a
note, talking about the GPs, when I first went to the GP and said I think I've got an issue with my food, because I didn't know what type of eating disorder I had, I just knew I was obsessed with it, and I
yeah.
was failing to lose any more weight. That was my problem. I thought I needed to lose more weight, and yet I kept binge eating. So I was like, help me with that, and then I can lose weight. And they said stand on the scales, and because I was a normal weight, they said you're making it up in your head, go away. So I didn't get the help that I needed for the eating disorder. And I then had to seek
Oh,
another doctor, and they realized, like, well, I was infertile and they weren't going to help me with the infertility. They said, you have an eating disorder, let's help you with that. Because what I actually had was non-purging bulimia,
yeah.
meaning I would binge eat, and then to remove all the calories, I would over exercise.
Mm.
And it's not very
Yeah.
widely known. And especially in the fitness industry, it's applauded, that behavior. You're
Yeah.
told to work off your food. You're told it's Christmas, you're going to eat X amount of calories, therefore work out beforehand.
Yeah.
Everything, all of the marketing is around that: calories in, calories out. We're told that that's a thing, but it actually isn't. And there's research also that shows how you feel about the calories that you're eating changes how much of it
Yeah.
you consume. So there's so much more that goes on behind the scenes. It really isn't as simple as what they say. And those government guidelines of eat less and move more, for me, I had to move less and eat more to get my
Yeah.
periods back to be healthy.
I know, it's insane. I was just like sitting there thinking, because I, haven't been a yo-yo dieter for a long, long time. I have tried a lot of diets, and of course, the one that really had the impact on me mentally, actually, was Slimming World. And I will call them out because I think it's complete toxic. It's funny that, I mean, the CEO of Weight Watchers was called to a tribunal in America and admitted that I think it was only like 10 or 12% of people keep off the weight indefinitely. The diets are designed specifically to keep you being a customer and to keep you in that
Yeah,
revolving door, so
yeah.
that thing, like, even like the words they would use, like our journal that we would have with all of the food was called our Bible.
Oh
Anytime that
gosh.
you would eat food that wasn't on the list, it was called a sin. I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
now thinking about it, it's so
You're a
toxic, and it's
bad
insane.
person. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have people in the gym on a Monday and I say, how was your weekend? And they're, oh, so bad. And I say,
Yeah.
did you murder someone? Like, did you actually murder someone? Because if you just ate a bit of chocolate, who cares? Let's get
Yeah.
over it and enjoy our lives.
Exactly. Now I say, like, if I want, because like I say, I try and eat healthy, but if I want something, I'll have it. I just make sure that it's something A, I really, really want, and B, it's good quality. I'm not going to waste
Mm.
my time on crap food.
Yeah, because if you really want a chocolate and you try to eat an apple, then you try to eat a carrot, then you have, loads and loads of fruit, you end up still eating the chocolate and you had all this other stuff as well. Whereas if you just had the thing you really wanted and you knew you were allowed it and it's not sinful, you probably don't eat the whole lot. You probably just have a little bit and then you're done.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas before I used to be like a family size bar by myself, and that's like,
Mm. Because you
so
start
try.
feeling bad, you think,
Yeah,
fuck it, I've blown it. I may as well eat the whole lot. The diet
yeah,
starts tomorrow. It's
yeah.
that last supper mentality. It's
Oh,
running out, food is scarce. Let's eat everything now.
yeah.
And we promise
Done
not
that
to do it again
so
tomorrow.
many times. So many times. The diet starts on Monday. Saturday, Sunday, before the diet starts, I literally like I'm on my last supper for 2 days.
Mm.
I will literally like binge and consume everything that I can possibly get my hands on. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. But
Yeah.
this is what the industry does. And I think it is very deliberate because they see us as a product. They see us as it's all consumerism, it's all capitalism. They don't really want you to lose weight because if you do that, and you go away, then they've lost your money. So they're going to
Yeah.
keep you coming back. It's very, very toxic, the whole thing. And
Just
I
to
think
say
that,
a little bit, to be fair to Slimming World and all the other places, I do actually think sometimes the hosts aren't educated and maybe
yeah,
they lost some weight and then they feel, amazing and then they want to lead a group and they think they're doing something wonderful for people. And they don't realize that diets on the whole, whether it be Slimming World, Weight Watchers, whatever diet, there's millions, don't work after 5 years.
yeah,
That's what the research is. And it's because of set point theory, which goes back to our genetics. So whatever we were in the beginning, if we diet, we lose the weight and then we start binge eating and we gain the weight. We gain plus more. We
yeah,
add that extra bit of fat just in case we diet again. And
yeah,
so although it starts off as, a very long process and you may have successful dieting within the first 5 years, after that, the weight you gain becomes your new set point. So your body's now rewired to be happy and healthy in this bigger body.
yeah,
So you can diet again, have achieved weight loss within the first 5 years, and then it rewires again to a bigger body. So if you look at a woman, for example, who's dieted her whole life, she may have started a teenager, she's now 60, she's in a way bigger body. So
yeah.
that is actually the effects of dieting, but no one ever shows you that before and after. They just show you that within 5 years.
Oh, always. Every time they do the magazine spreads, the television stuff, they never do like, let's look at her 10 years later and see where she is now. They never do that. It's always, like you say, at the end of the diet period that she's at, and she was this, and now she's this, and isn't she amazing? And
Mm.
yeah, and I'm not calling out the the women who are running the groups or the men. I'm calling out the actual industry as a whole, and I think it's incredibly toxic for the people who attend. And I've
Yeah.
experienced it, and it messes with your brain. It messes with your relationship with food completely, and
Mm.
it's having to relearn, your relationship on a personal level rather than what someone is telling you. It's a very strange thing.
And it's also, I look at it like an abusive relationship. If you've been in an abusive relationship, once you come out of that, you then need to learn a healthy relationship. Otherwise you repeat the cycle. The same with dieting. You've just had an abusive relationship with food. You now need to learn a healthy relationship with food.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. It's so true.
Otherwise,
So
we
true.
only know on a diet, off a diet, on a diet,
Yeah,
off a diet.
exactly. And women can spend their whole lives in that cycle, just going round and round and round, but never
Yeah.
actually like knowing what's good for them or enjoying their
Mm.
food. It's really sad.
Which is why, as well, I think we have to look at what's underneath. Because
Yeah.
why are you doing the diet in the first place? Why is it you don't like your body? Yes, there's all the messaging, but why did it affect you, particularly when it didn't affect your friend?
Yeah.
Because we all have different traumas. And so that's why, although this is a massive topic and it's very, very real for people who are going through it on a day-to-day basis, and because that's my experience as well, I'm really passionate about helping people out of that pain, I still at some point, even in my 12-week course, dive underneath.
Yeah.
Like what is underneath? What is the trauma that's causing you to have the low self-esteem? Or that, you're feeling abandoned. You feel like I'm only going to be loved if I have a certain body.
Mm.
And really you're looking for love.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
I thought I was looking for happiness. And then when I achieved that body, I was happy in that moment, but then I wasn't happy afterwards.
Yeah.
I didn't really love myself. I thought someone else could love me and validate me, but I needed to love and validate myself.
Absolutely. And that's why these diet industries, they don't look at your why. They're literally like, it's more about what you're doing than why you're doing it. So I think that's why I say people like you are so needed, because starts from up here. It's all up in here, actually. And so looking at that is really massively important. Why I've got you, and I know it's probably a bone of contention to many people, but it is something that I really do want to talk about, and that's Lizzo. Now, I think like the little kind of smile. I know it is one of those things. I love Lizzo. I do, and I love what she stood for. I love her music. I love her whole imagery. I thought she was fabulous. And for those that don't know, it came out that she actually is not as body positive as what she was making herself out to be. How do you feel about the whole scandal of what's coming out, and is there an impact on the body positivity movement?
First, you'll have to educate me on what the story is, because I don't watch the news and I don't follow celebrities. I'm aware of who she is, and I just assumed she was body positive, and some people shame her and say, you can't be healthy if you're in a bigger body.
Yeah.
But I'm not aware of what's happened recently.
So the story that came out was that actually she was fat shaming her dancers. That's also that she was being overtly sexual with them and encouraging them to do and say things that they were not happy with. So there's almost like a bullying culture that's come out from that, which of course has impacted her brand, as it were. But I do wonder on the impact of that on the body positivity space as a whole, because she was being painted as some kind of figurehead of that, because she was in this very larger body, but was seemingly very confident and, loving her life and being successful. And now to hear that she's been fat shaming her dancers makes me kind of go, it doesn't feel as empowering as what we were led to believe.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'm thinking when you say that is hurt people hurt people. Yeah. And although she's come out as this massively confident and positive brand, perhaps she's got some underlying trauma. Maybe she was bullied and now she's projecting that onto her dancers.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what else to say on that matter. I was going to say, if you were going to ask about whether she's healthy or not healthy, I was going to say, for example, someone's health is nobody's business. So even if she was unhealthy, who cares? The only reason anyone's caring is because she looks the way she looks, because she's in that body. You could get someone like Russell Brand, for example, like not his recent things, let's not talk about that. But back in the day, being an addict, taking drugs, drinking, in a thin body, no one pointed at him and said, that's really unhealthy. They weren't body shaming him.
No, absolutely.
And there's still that stigma of what you look like to whether it's healthy or not healthy. And even if someone is deciding to, not eat that healthy and not exercise, that's still their bloody choice, isn't it? It's up to them. It's none of our business. If they're creating great music and that's what we want to buy into, then go for it. Who they are as a person, that's up to them.
I totally agree. You can see how it's almost rebellious to book the trends and not follow that pathway that every woman follows of trying to be thin. And it's to be in a larger body. I can see how that causes anger in the wrong people, because it's like, how dare you exist in a larger body and be happy? Because if you're in a larger body, you should be miserable and you should eat in private and you should cover yourself up. And she's out there, with her butt out and shaking, twerking and everything. And it's like there is this anger of like women taking up more space than what they're supposed to, I suppose.
I mean, it must be really hard to be her. She may have done a load of work and felt really body confident and then decided this is going to be my brand. And then when she came out, obviously the voices are louder. There's many more voices saying the same thing. Who knows how that's impacted her, and now she's maybe taking it out on her people.
Yeah, I get that. So, I mean, I love what you're saying. So it's not the work that you do. It's not about, and just to clarify for those that are watching this, it's not about being thin. It's about loving the body that you're in, regardless of what it looks like, and learning to be in that space. And I think that is really a beautiful thing, because it's not like I say, it's not about the number on the scale or the dress size. It's
one thing that we do in terms of changing the body though is getting fitter and stronger. I'm all for not counting the number on the scales, but counting the number on the weights. Lifting more, especially for women, because as we get older, we need to look after our bones. So we need to have a certain, level of muscle so that we can have strong bones.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that, because osteoporosis is a very real thing. And of course, being of a certain age, and once you hit menopause and your hormones change,
Mm.
hormones, that has a massive effect as well. And I watched that TV show about menopause with Davina McCall, and it really shocked me actually that when we lose estrogen as we go through perimenopause, and that declines brain function, and women are more inclined to Alzheimer's and dementia, and that comes from our loss of estrogen. So having exercise and eating healthily, it's not like it's a magic wand that's going to make it all better, but God, it certainly bloody helps, doesn't it?
Mm. Yeah, it's tough being a woman.
I know. Even my daughter, bless her, she's 11, and she's going through started her puberty and all that. And she went,
Yeah,
"It's
mine's
good
12,
fun."
my youngest.
Like, it's hard, and she went, "It's good fun being a woman, isn't it, Mum?" I was like, "I know, darling."
Mm.
Bless. And it is, I suppose, it's about being that positive role model for the younger generation as well. We have to pass the on down that it's okay to be who you are.
And be aware of how you speak about your own body in front of your children, because they're listening.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You are their role models.
Absolutely.
I have a video actually that I made recently with one of my friends and her child. I just wanted her to stand on the scales and then her child to follow her, just to show that example, because that's what we do.
Yeah.
We'll copy ourselves. We don't even know what we're doing, but we just copy them because that's what they do.
Of course, you hold your stomach in and you look at yourself sideways in the mirror. It's all these things that you've seen your mum do, or your auntie, or your grandma. It doesn't matter. You pass that knowledge down. So we either continue that trend, or we say, right, we're going to try and do this differently. I think it's great. I'm saying, I knew, like, this is like, and it's such an important conversation. It's such an important topic of conversation to have, and to allow these spaces where women can say, like, oh, I don't have to do it this way. I can think about my body in a different way.
Yeah. And once you have that body autonomy and that body confidence, it affects all other areas of your life. So one of the other things I do is teach women self-defense. And basically everything I do is about female empowerment. But if the body image and the food is the biggest thing for you, you're not going to do anything else, because it's all consuming. But once you have done that, you then realize, what else can I change?
Excuse me.
Bless you. What else can I change? Maybe I want to leave my relationship. This happened to me actually. After I got into mindset, I was married for 16 years. Well, together 16 years, married for 11. And after my NLP course, I felt like I just opened, a new page, and the rest I could write myself. And I thought, oh, maybe I don't even believe in marriage anymore. Maybe I was told that I should have a husband, 2.4 children, all of that stuff. Like, how much has society affected all of my choices? Now I get to decide. I'm empowering myself, and what do I really want? And part of that is a journey on your own, isn't it? To get to know yourself.
Oh, I love that, Nicola. Honestly, I think and I've been on that journey myself, so I so resonate with that. But yeah, to stop saying, what does society want for me, or what do my parents want for me, or what does my friend want for me? It's like, what do you want for you? And to ask yourself those questions from that space of empowerment is something that every woman, I think, we should strive for, because it's your life, and we don't know. I mean, God willing, we have like a healthy, long life. We don't know what's going to happen. And really, it's about making the most of your time while you have it. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I really do. Yeah.
I don't want to waste a moment living someone else's life.
Amen to that. Amen to that. So, for those who are watching this who are like, oh my God, this woman's amazing, and I'm really interested in what she's doing, how can they then, like, after the podcast is finished, go off and find out more about you and working with you?
Well, I mostly hang out on Instagram. So my Instagram is @body_confidence22.
Right.
But I am also on Twitter, Nicola, Facebook, Nicola Chan, LinkedIn, Nicola Chan. But yeah, mostly on Instagram.
Fabulous. And all these links will be down in the show notes, so go and check her out, because if you're struggling with your body image, or you're feeling confident in your body and loving your body, it's very clear this woman is the right one, that's going to kick you up the bum in the nicest possible way, in the right direction.
Well, I have written a book as well, actually. It's called Imperfect, spelled like I'm perfect, but it's not published yet. But that will essentially be the course. So it's a bit like a 12-step program, because there's 12 steps to the process. And it's basically, as I've just described my journey, with it starting with your mindset and making that decision, and then all of the steps thereafter, and you go through them in the book. So I'm really excited about it, and I hope that a publisher will be listening, because Because that's the most challenging part, is getting a publisher or a literary agent and someone to, you know, understand your story and see how it's going to impact people, you know, with a positive impact.
Well, I believe when you build it, they will come. And I think if you have the right intention, then the right divine timing, what's meant for you is already yours. So there's no doubt in my mind that you're going to keep on this path, because it's so clearly what you're meant to be doing, you know? And I think you're fabulous.
Yeah,
Genuinely,
I
I
believe
really
that. Thank you.
do. Oh, Nicola, I feel like I could talk to you for hours, but for the sake of the audience, we'll probably have to leave it there. But thank you so much for having this conversation with me. Like I say, I think it was really important one to have, and I'm sure a lot of women will
Absolutely. Thank you
resonate
for
with
having
it.
me.
No, honestly, it was an absolute pleasure, and just keep shining that light. We need you, genuinely.
Thank you.
You're very, very welcome. Thank you guys for watching this. I hope you found this as fascinating as I have done, and had some real important takeaways for your own life. And if you like it, obviously hit that subscribe button, give me a like. I really appreciate it. And I will definitely see you on the next one. Take care. Bye.
Bye.